Uh, Short one, because I'm driving, but two, because I really don't have much to say about this. But the announcement today that CK and JB are leaving Higher Music, and if you're not aware, very recently, Jay Park left being in charge of his various music groups, and I don't know. I kind of feel like Jay Park is a unicorn, and him being solo and having the success he has like, I wouldn't say brainwash, but definitely raised expectations for other people who want to be solo. So let me start by saying, if your favorite artist star, don't take this as me saying that your favorite should have never gone solo. I would never say that, because I believe that adults making their own decisions can do what the hell they want to. And I have some faves who have gone solo after being in massive groups. And sometimes the products have been really great, sometimes they haven't been. But again, everybody's allowed to be who they're going to be. But I think with Jay Park, he did so well being solo. And when I say so well, I mean, like, he not only was able to bring back his own career after literally having Korea hate him and being like, fuck you, don't ever come back here. He built up his own career. He managed to, like, be integral to the start of two major labels. He's managed to carry his success into other countries. Uh, he has signed a number beneath him. He's actually cultivated almost an entire field of music in Korea. And I remember there was a period of time, I would say kind of between 2012 and maybe 2016, where, like, if you wanted to be popular in KR&B circles, you had to collab with Jay Park. Like, it was just a fact. You, even if you didn't like Jay Park's music, it didn't matter. Jay Park was how you got on. And because Jay Park was how you got on, a lot of people gained massive amounts of respect for Jay Park. But for people coming from a certain background, people coming from like a K-pop idol background, Jay Park became the blueprint of like what to do after you leave idoldom. And I think that people have had varying levels of success. Um, but we need to try to analyze, because I don't think a lot of people have done it. What is it about Jay Park that made him best suited for the kind of success that he's had? Because don't get it twisted. Jay Park didn't become successful just because he's lucky. That was a big part of it, don't get me wrong, because luck factors into everything, honest and true. Like, you can be the most talented person on earth. If you don't have visibility, it's not going to work for you. If you don't hit the zeitgeist at the right period of time, it's not going to work for you. So Jay Park was lucky. But there are a few other factors that Jay Park has that I don't think a lot of people have taken into consideration, and they need to, because those things are really important when we're talking about whether or not you should go solo. I'm just going to park real quick because, like I said, it shouldn't take long, but I just want to get it out the way. One of the things that I think Jay Park had going for him is a certain level of differentness. So when we talk about Jay Park, we need to talk about the fact that Jay Park is an American. That was a huge part of him going solo. Jay Park, being an American, he kind of was looked at as a trendsetter rather than a trend follower. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not capable of being a trendsetter if you're Korean. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is this. When Jay Park went solo, he went solo with a Korean rendition of the Bruno Mars song Nothing on You. He did a Korean cover. And he was doing these Korean covers of these American songs. And then when he did his first albums, he was doing American hip hop R&B, but of course with Korean lyrics. And in doing so, he was like, I'm giving you authentic American urban music, but I'm giving it to you in a language you understand. But I'm giving you American style runs. I'm giving you whatever is the latest in American hip hop culture. I'm covered in tattoos. I'm bringing an element of authentic cool that maybe you don't see from people born in Korea. And, not for nothing, there's this thing when it comes to American music, and I don't know why this is, but it's like people can do different styles of music in their home countries, but there's something that's an added cool cultural level when it comes from Americans. I can't describe it. Same thing with rock music when it comes to Britain. Like, around the world, people consider rock musicians from Britain to be the most cool rock musicians, and they consider hip hop artists from America to be the coolest urban music musicians. It's just a fact. So because of that, he's able to bring that kind of uniqueness, that specialty to it. And then turning around from there, Jay Park was also somebody who was extremely self motivated to work different aspects of celebrity. And that's something that I think not enough people who go solo from idoldom really consider. Jay Park did the covers on YouTube and that got him some success. But Jay Park's actual standout success was his appearances on Saturday Night Live Korea. That was a huge part of it. I remember he did that skit about a Korean American trying to find a job in Korea, and he was like saying everything wrong and everything he was saying was like sexual innuendo. It was ridiculous. Anyway, Jay Park really made a name for himself in variety before he even decided I'm going to take on my music full time. And if the music hadn't popped off, he probably would have stayed doing SNL, variety shows. Like he was willing to go and spread his net very, very wide. And he was active all the time. I cannot say enough about the fact that you have to be willing to be active all the time. Like even now, as much as I don't even pay attention to Jay Park, I feel like every other week it's like Jay Park is answering questions on Twitter. Jay Park is actually answering questions on Reddit. Like he stays active. He's always putting himself in front of people. Jay Park has more credits as a guest star on other people's songs than he actually has of his own songs, I believe. But I say all that to say, these are the things that I think a lot of idols don't really think about when they're going solo, and why a lot of idols who go solo, it just doesn't work for them. Especially if you're talking about going independent. Like, I feel like we should be very clear. There is a huge difference between going solo in the confines of your group, in the confines of your home label. So, like, I would say if we're talking about an artist like Taemin from Shiny. I almost feel like we shouldn't call him a solo because he's still doing group activities. He's still under SM. Like nothing in his actual label idol life has changed environmentally. The only thing that's different is that he records by himself and he tours by himself and he has appearances by himself, but he still does group projects. He still identifies as a member of his group. Nothing has changed on that front, except for he just gets more room to explore himself as a solo. Whereas at Jay Park, he was completely out, like out of 2 p.m. before his solo stuff really began. And you've got a lot of idols, especially second gen idols, who are finding that their groups have split up. They're leaving their home labels because there's just not the incentive to stay for a lot of them. It could be personal disagreements. It could be the labels being cheap. It could be that they felt like for years they were being shortchanged by their label and they weren't being paid appropriately. Whatever the case may be, but if you are still with your home label and you're still with your group, it is a different kind of solo than being like, I'm not with the group anymore. I'm now with my old label. I'm doing it for me. And when I think of the artists who are trying to be solo after kind of doing that adventure, that's where I feel like maybe not everybody is meant to be solo, like really super solo. Maybe not everybody's meant to be independent. And this really is on my mind. Like I said, number one, hearing the news of Higher Music losing both JB, formerly of GOT7, and losing CK. That's surprising. But also because I was thinking about Hyolin, who just came out with an album. I bought it. I haven't received it in the mail, but I'll get it in the next couple of days. I'll show you guys. I'll do an unboxing on my channel. But I think that definitely Queendom is the best thing she's done in a really long time. But when Hyolyn left the label Stardom, our Starship Entertainment, I don't know why I said Stardom, when she left Starship Entertainment, I don't think that Hyolyn had as tight a game plan as she should have had. I think that there were a lot of things that she should have secured before she became a solo artist that she really didn't take advantage of. And I think she relied too much on reputation. And that's another thing that really separates Jay Park from other people who go solo. Jay Park had a horrible reputation when he left 2 p.m. Like his reputation was in tatters. Meanwhile, somebody like Hyolyn, when she left when she left Starship, she still had a relatively good reputation. And so, saying all that, you'd think good reputation, obviously very talented, amazing singer and dancer, it should be easy to go solo, right? Wrong. Hyolin gave us some of the best music of her career. The solos that she's come out with after leaving Sistar are her best solos. And I mean that. I'm talking about whether we're talking about OST work, whether we're talking about the albums, she did too many albums before she left Starship. Even out of all of that, the stuff she did after she left Starship is her best work as a solo. Nothing touches what she did with Sistar because nothing ever will, but what she released after she left Starship is her best solo work. Yet and still, it wasn't enough. As great as Dolly is, it wasn't enough. And I think it is because I think Hyolyn underestimated the level of activity she was going to need to maintain in order to be a solo star. I think she didn't diversify enough in her solo activities, which I think is super important if we're going to talk about success moving forward. And three, I think she underestimated what she was bringing to the table that was new or different or encouraged people to see her as something separate from what she had been. And that's the other thing that I think Jay Park really had the advantage of. Jay Park as a solo artist was a completely different animal than the Jay Park we experienced in 2PM. Jay Park in 2PM was a more subdued person, was a little bit more conservative, definitely not covered in the tattoos, trying to talk about, being sexy times and all that kind of stuff. And when Jay Park came back, he came back with a different persona. He definitely is like, you thought you knew me, here's the real me, especially because now that you hate me, the gloves are off. I don't need to try to make you like me anymore because you're not going to like me anyway. Whereas Hyolyn and some of the other people who have left to go solo, they have kind of stuck with the same mold that they had when they were an idol. And for a lot of people who love stars in their groups, if they don't do enough to redefine themselves once they leave their group, it kind of accentuates the idea that either you were better with your group or your group made you and you're nothing without your group. And it really sucks that that would be the way it is, but it just is because consumers are idiots. Audience members are idiots. And also, people are really short sighted and we get used to things and we don't like to give people second chances to make first impressions. And so, a lot of people would look at somebody like Hyolyn and be like, well, this is not that different than what she did when she went solo with Starship. This is not that different than what she does with Sistar. And I think it's been really difficult for her to find her identity outside of her identity as Hyolyn of Sistar. Now, I like No Thanks. I think it's fine. I've listened to the mini album. I think it's fine. It's definitely not anything to write home about as far as I'm concerned. I bought it because I support her. I think that's important. But more than anything, I feel like she's somebody who needs label support. She's somebody who she should have stuck with Starship. Like, honestly and truly, it's not that I'm saying that she's not doing her damnedest. I think she is working very hard on her music, but I really feel like the opportunities that she was afforded as a girl group member on Starship were just too vast and too plentiful for her to be able to replicate that on the budget she had as an independent artist. And hopefully you'll understand that and see that I'm not digging on her because she's still my fave. I still think she kills it. Another thing that I think is important for solos, and I'm going to say this in regards to JB, who just left Higher and is now on to his next label. So GOT7 is interesting because GOT7 is still together. So JB is actually in a situation that not many solos find themselves in, where he's not with his home label in terms of being signed to them and recording underneath them. He's not recording with JYP anymore. But he is still a member of GOT7. They're still a thing. And JB, as an independent artist with Higher Music, decided to give us something different. And all I can say is this: when people come out of label situations with a certain amount of maybe animosity or anger or resentment or just bad vibes altogether, I think it's really important that you address those feelings in a separate arena than in your artistic decisions. Now, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to put some of your anger and your frustration and all those things into your art. I think that part of what makes art unique is that it comes from a point of view from the artist. They insert a piece of themselves in everything they do because it comes from their point of view, it comes from their mind. But I think JB tried so hard to be anti idol and tried to, in some ways, mimic what Jay Park did, especially since they both came from JYP, that what he put out was massively underwhelming. Massively underwhelming. Like, it was just like, what the fuck is this? And I remember I did kind of a little brief unboxing for it, and I was like, I don't understand why this is like this, because it came in, like, I want to say it was a paper bag and the pictures were dark, like, just all around it was not good packaging. The songs weren't great. He was doing really weird half-ass promo, and I was like, I'm not a fan of this. And it's crazy because when I first heard Got7, when they first came out, I remember thinking, JB's got my favorite voice. And then when this album came out, I'm like, I would never listen to this. I would never listen to this album. I'm not ever going to buy another album from him. What the hell is going on here? But I think he was trying to make a statement with the way that he packaged the album, with the way that he released the music, to be like, I'm not that guy from Got7 anymore. I'm this artist. I'm showing you a piece of me you've never seen before. And earlier I had mentioned, like, you need to present something different, something that people aren't used to. However, I think the anger and the kind of like the desire to push against the image that JYP had for him kind of overrun his I want to show you a new side of me. I think he made the decision based on emotion rather than making this excuse me, the decision based on longevity and maybe what would be best for his career. Because really and truly, I don't think it was best for his career to deny the fact that he was an idol at one point. Not that he ever denied it, because how could he? But basically, he's like, I don't want any shade of my idol past to come with me into this new venture. Yet and still, I doubt that you released this album thinking that my old Got7 fans aren't going to follow me here. Like, and that's the thing. And it is a tightrope to balance. I'm not saying it's easy for people to do it, but like, you want your old fans to follow you. You want to gain new fans as you're going that place. And figuring out what you can do to bring both camps along with you on the ride, that is something that takes a lot of finesse. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of talent. It takes a talent manager, honestly. And that's the reason why your label is important. Now I'm going to talk about a solo that sometimes doesn't work because maybe you're not in a place to be able to do it. I'm going to talk about Hyuna real quick. And I'm going to talk about Hyuna because I think out of everyone that we would expect to do well after leaving their label, Hyuna would be the person that would have the highest odds of success. Because honestly and truly, 4 Minute was always about Hyuna anyway. So it's not like by her leaving 4 Minute that, oh, how's she going to make it if she's not with a group? That was her group. Like, from their inception, that was her group, because she was the known entity when that group debuted. And then, of course, she had her solos. Bubble Pop was massive. She did the feature in Gangnam Style's music video. She had Ice Cream. I mean, the list goes on and on in terms of her solo work that she did while she was still a member of 4 Minute, but also under Cube. After she left Cube, I think a lot of us were thinking, okay, she's going to hit it because she's already a solo. She already has taken a lot of risk with her image under Cube. So things should be great for her. We should be getting tons of content. We should be getting tons of music. Like, she should really be hitting it. The issue with Hyuna, I believe, and this is just from what I've seen, is that I don't think that personally Hyuna's been in a place to make it happen. Now, remember, one of the things I said before is you have to be on it. You have to be promoting all the time. You have to be constantly working at it. You have to be constantly interacting with people. And don't get me wrong, Hyuna's really active on Instagram. If you follow her Instagram, she is letting you know the minute to minute action in her relationship with her and her fiance. But when it comes to music, I don't think for a while that Hyuna's been in a healthy place to produce music. And sometimes I wonder if maybe she was not in a healthy place before she left Cube, and that Cube as a label pushed her to be active when she really wasn't prepared to be. Because now that she's on P Nation, I think this is the second physical release that we've had for Hyuna on P Nation. But I feel like what's been released has been underwhelming. I feel like the content has been underwhelming in terms of quantity, like the amount of content. And I also feel like the promotion cycles have been really short. And I really feel like it's been underwhelming. And I think that the other thing that it calls into question is Hyuna's vision as an artist. Now, I always thought before she left Cube that Hyuna played a big part in her image, in what she released, and I remember thinking like she's really at the helm of her own ship. But being a P Nation has really called into question exactly how much of Hyuna's creative vision made it into the end product when it comes to both her music and her visuals. And that's not me saying that the music she's putting out now is bad. It's not bad. It's just not the earworm that her earlier music has been. And I think that's a fact. I don't think that's me being bashing on her or anything. I think the music's still good. But when you think about this stuff and you think about like a Roll Deep or a Red, they're totally different entities. Like they're not the same. Or like the new music versus a lip and hip, it's just not the same thing. And it makes me wonder how much of what we got as an end product of Hyuna the Solo was Cube's artistic department, their costuming, their executives, kind of doing that last pass through edit of the material before it got out there. Because something that we didn't talk about when P Nation started wrapping up people here and there and making it go, we didn't talk about whether or not we thought that Psy would be a good executive. We didn't talk about if we thought he'd be a good label head. I think the only thing we talked about is Psy's got money, he's signing really interesting artists, so the label will be good. And that's kind of where it was. When we were talking about independent labelhood, we were talking about like, oh, well, Psy's got money because he did Gangnam Style, and he's one of the most famous artists in Korea, and he's got all these relationships with people, so he's going to have all these connections. So anyone that signs with him is going to get the benefit of all of his industry connections, also because he's been in the community so long as a figure in Korean popular music. And then when he signed Hizzy, when he signed Crush, when he signed Jessie, when he signed Hyuna and her man friend, as he was making all these high profile signings, we were like, oh yes, this is the place to be. All right. But none of us really thought about the fact that Psy's not done being an artist. And in order to be an artist and a label head at the same time, you have to be willing to sacrifice one thing or the other. Like, a lot of you will not agree with this because I know how people feel about this man. A lot of people don't like JYP. It's a fact. Like, he releases really good music, but a lot of people are like, it doesn't matter what the music is. If it's JYP, get the fuck out of here. But JYP, before he had his own label, was a star. That's period, point blank. He was a star. And when he started his own label, people were excited about his label because JYP was not only just a star, but he wrote his own music and his music was super like commercial mainstream. So people were excited to see what he could do. JYP scaled back his personal career by a mile to be a label head. He was still releasing his own music, but he really put himself aside to promote GOD, to promote Rain, to promote the Wonder Girls, to write music for them, to create these groups. And he really made it to where his personal career as an artist was a side project to his main career as the head of his own label. And I don't think that Sai is there. I don't think he's there. And I think because he's not there, that he hasn't really been able to be the CEO he needs to be in order to make things work for the artist underneath him. Really and truly, the artists underneath him, if they don't work, they don't get projects. Recently, Jessie left the label. She left P Nation, and since she left P Nation, her main complaint has been the label gives me no promo. The label gives me money and I do things, but they don't have the marketing team I need to push these things. They don't have the infrastructure to help get me in the places I need to be seen. They don't have the machine I need to be the me that I can be. And I mean, you hear Jessie on TikTok all the time. That Zoom song, I hear that on TikTok every fucking day. Like, she does big things. Jessie gets talked about. Jessie has a career. Jessie is a bigger star than I think anybody would have ever thought she could be 3 years ago. And Jessie has really made the most of her time at P Nation. But if somebody like Jessie, who is a hustler, who's bringing the American perspective, who's bringing something a little bit raunchier, wow, she's kind of a J Park. If she's bringing all that to the table, and she's kind of like running her own operation, and she can't make it at a label like P Nation, I don't know how somebody like Dawn is going to make it at a label like P Nation. I don't know how Hyuna is going to make it at P Nation. I don't know what's going to happen with Crush when he gets out the military. Like, it's one of those things where there's money there, but the machine is not set up all the way. And again, like I said, Psy is not releasing the reins. Like, honestly, I know this is going to be unpopular opinion. I did not care for the song that he did with Suga from BTS. I did not care for it. I think that Yoongi's super talented. I think he's an amazing producer. He writes really great songs. He wrote one of my favorite Suran songs of all time. However, P P Nation, if they were smart and they were going to hire Yoongi to write for their artist, they should have picked somebody other than Psy. Because, not for nothing, Psy's old. Psy's at least my age. I'm in my 40s. Psy's at least my age. And I don't think that it was the best choice of resources to pay the money it takes to have Suga do a production of a track, appear in a music video, all of that for Psy of all people. And it says something about how he feels about his label and about him as an artist, that he took the biggest collaboration that he could get on his label and he gave it to himself. It really does say something. It really does. So, I just, I feel like there needs to be some conversations about the solohood. And I say that with all the love in the world because I still really and truly believe that being an idol, you don't get a fair shake. I really do think that people who are idols, a lot of the time, they don't get a fair shake in terms of being able to express themselves fully, being able to take care of their mental health, to be able to be the artist that they see themselves wanting to be, being given proper artistic development. I think that definitely being an idol puts you in a box, and I think that everyone has different reactions when they finally escape the box. But I think leaving idoldom is almost like leaving a violent relationship. And I'm not trying to say that domestic violence is anything to be played with or trifled with. That's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of times when somebody's in a violent relationship or an emotionally abusive relationship, you can't just leave. Like, that's not the option. A lot of times when you're in these kind of relationships, the person that you're with has set things up in a way to encourage you to never leave. Even if they are being abusive, even if they are taking advantage of you, even if it is a dangerous situation, they make it appear as if you leaving would be worse than you staying. And it takes a lot to be a person that says, I'm going to leave anyway, even if it means that I'll never have another relationship again, even if it means that I'm going to have to suffer through financial trials and hardships. I care for me enough to keep doing this on my own and not rely on you. And I think when you're an idol, it's a very similar situation. A lot of idols are afraid to leave their labels because they're afraid that the media won't talk to them when they leave. They're afraid that their fans won't follow them when they leave. They're afraid of lawsuits. They're afraid that they're not going to have the marketing that they need when they leave. But most of the time when someone's able to escape an abusive relationship, it's because they have a support system waiting for them on the other side. And I think more so now than ever before, people who are considering having a solo entertainment career after being a part of a big idol group need to work on their support system. And when I say their support system, I'm not just saying what label am I going to go to after I leave my big label, or, am I going to do it by myself, but also like, who do you know in television? Who's actually willing to give you a on paper contract that you could then dispute if things don't go the way they're supposed to? Who's going to bankroll you? What kind of singing classes and dancing classes and vocal classes are you getting into now to get you ready to make that leap? And I think that independent, being a solo, is not for everybody if you're not willing to create that kind of fallback plan. And I know plan Bs are not popular with a lot of people because they're like, if I just can't make it in this, I'm not going to do nothing. But when you're leaving a large label, your plan B has to be tight. It can't just be, I made some money as an idol. I think I have enough to carry me through. And if this next two songs hit, then I'll make my money back and I'll be able to keep going. I think you really need to be like, who's actually willing to invest? Who's actually willing to put some money behind this? Who's actually going to give me time for development? Like, what songwriter can I hire to give me some prestige? Who can I do a duet with that can give me a little bit more shine? I think planning is essential. And in this day and age, social media being what it is, you can get a bump from there. But now everybody's on social media. Like Beyonce's on TikTok. Everybody's on social media. It used to be like if you're on social media, that gave you an edge up. No, everybody's on social media. You really do need to be planning that next step. You need to be talking to marketing teams. You need to be talking to PR firms. You need to be doing something more instead of just assuming that because I was a star in a group, that's going to carry me through into the next phase of my career. I still wish every solo person the best. I mean, unless they've been involved in some type of really horrible scandal, I still wish everyone the best. Like, I still wish the best for Hyolin. That's why I bought her album. I still wish the best for Hyuna. I still wish the best for JB. I still wish the best for everybody. I still want to see them successful. Like, that is a fact. I still want to see them successful because nothing feels better than seeing the person that you loved in an idol group spread their wings and really fly. Nothing's better. But I also want to see some people take a little bit more time in their solo work. I want to see some people take a little bit more time in formulating their plan. I want to see some people make some decisions not based on emotions. I really want to see some people make some investments in themselves. And I don't know, I kind of want to see Jay Park make another label. But that's just me. Actually, you know what? Let me roll that back as a kind of an ending to all of this. My wish for Jay Park. I don't think that I'm a person who's looking for another Jay Park album because he's always threatening to rap, and I don't want to go through that trauma. But if Jay Park is not in a position to where he feels like he can be a label president anymore, which I get that, I totally get that. I think more than anything, Jay Park ought to move into artist management in terms of like creating teams for people, not him featuring on their album, not him featuring on their social media presence. I think that Jay Park is smart in that he has really good conceptual skills. I think he's really good at seeing something and being like, this is what would work for that, or these are the things that will work out well. And I think if he was to start a consulting firm to help idols as they escape their labels, to help them out with their legal issues, to help them out with, press kitting, to help them out with getting in contact with songwriters and all that kind of stuff, and move away from being a label head. Because I think being a label head is too much pressure for anybody. But just being like, listen, you can hire me, take your money, you can hire me, and I will game plan for you. And then after that, you're on your own. I think that that would be something that Jay Park would be amazing at. And I don't know why he doesn't do that because, like, really and seriously, that's where his talent lies. Like, I was talking about it at the beginning of this conversation, but there was a while there where anyone who wanted to get in got in through Jay Park. Like, he featured on your song. People are like, oh, who's this new person? I don't know, but Jay Park's featured on their song. I'll give it a listen. And I think that if Jay Park was to take that skill, but just extract his face and his voice from the equation and just be like, I know who the hookup is for this. I know who the journalist is for that. I know a guy who does this. I know a coach who does that. These are the people that I know. But just get paid to share his network, man, gangbusters, gangbusters. Because the other thing that's kind of fraught about being a label president is that people might have a good debut, but their follow up stuff may be trash, and you've got to eat that. As a label president, if it doesn't make money, if it doesn't have sales, you got to eat that. And if he doesn't have his artists in 360 deals where he's making money off of their concert appearances, all he's making money off of is their album sales. And albums don't sell like they used to. Streams don't make the same money that physical makes. And so, yeah, I think if Jay Park was to start a consulting business, money hand over fist. But anyway, I said this was going to be short, and it's now been 36 minutes. So obviously, I'm a liar, and I don't know why you guys listen to me. But just so you know, I have not finished the K-pop book. I still have it in my purse here because I keep telling myself I'm going to read it on my lunch break, and I never do. But I have not finished this, and I really want to finish it before I talk about it because I don't want to do a chapter by chapter thing. But I'm still working on it. I haven't forgot about it. I have some albums coming in from Catch Up CD, and I'm gonna do a revised Catch Up CD review because I did a review of the Catch Up CD website many years ago. And when I say many years ago, I mean probably 4 years ago. I did a review for that website, and not a lot has changed with Catch Up CD, but some things have changed. And I think I need to do an updated review on them because one of the main complaints I had the last time I did a live is I was talking to you guys about the cost of albums and how it's just obscene how much it costs to try to buy albums and support artists. And it was when I was doing the SBET at Target video. So I think I'm going to do a review of Catch Up CD again, just to remind you guys, number one, that they exist in case you forgot about them. But two, I want to talk about the shipping they're using. I want to talk about their discount program and how that has changed because they used to do the referrals. They don't anymore. And I also want to talk about something that they do that bugs the shit out of me. And I'm hoping that by doing a video about it, they will change their ways because this is something that almost makes me feral. And I can't stand it. Like, I see it every single time I order from them. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And if you order from Catch Up CD, I have a feeling you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm going to talk about it in my review because I feel like there's an alternative that they're not utilizing and they need to just go ahead and do it instead of like this bullshit that we're currently going through. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to everyone later. Bye.